What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikiPikaPapa, and just like every single Sunday, we take the list that TCGPlayer has sent us of cards that have been moving and shaking and selling with the highest degree of velocity on their website, and we're going to do a deep dive into them. We're going to dissect the why, the how, and all of the good things around them, and I get really excited every week when I get to do this video and when I see the list of cards that TCGPlayer sends us, and there's a couple different reasons. First and foremost, when you think about buying and selling volume out there in the World Wide Web, TCGPlayer is right up there with anybody else. eBay's obviously number one, but TCGPlayer is up there too. And the other thing that I really like is this helps us kind of get a peek behind the curtains at what's going on at a more macro level of the hobby. Again, when you got a website with that much velocity that is telling you and I that these are the cards that are selling the most, that is incredibly impactful. And one thing that's special about this video is there's a bunch of cards on here that we have talked about in the past. Some of our core collecting and core, if you want to call it, investing principles that at least I use when I'm buying Pokemon cards with the intent of them growing in the long term. A lot of that has kind of come to fruition in this video and the cards that are on here. So always love talking about it. The whole point of this channel and what we do is to learn and understand not just what's going on in the present, but to take lessons from the past so we can apply them to the present to hopefully give us some idea of what might happen in the future. So with all of that being said, we're going to jump into these cards that have been moving and shaking the most. But as I have to do from time to time, listen, if you get into this video, if you have a ton of fun, if you love the content, hit that subscribe button. We got a small channel here. We're trying to grow it. And if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. So with that out of the way, we're going to kick the door down and we're going to start off with a card that we have talked about ad nauseum here on the channel, and that is the Umbreon VMAX Trainer Gallery card from Brilliant Stars. And I have been saying this for quite a while, and sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong, but I feel really good about this one. I think Brilliant Stars has been slept on for the longest time. Think about everything that's been going on in the Sword and Shield space. I mean, Sword and Shield booster boxes are going absolutely nutty right now, and Brilliant Stars is lagging. It's lagging Lost Origin, it's lagging Chilling Reign, it's lagging Evolving Skies, obviously, right? I mean, you think about some of the bigger name booster boxes out there, Brilliant Stars is lagging, but when you think about the card lineup, that's what we've always been saying for the last year when we've been talking about the value in Brilliant Stars. You got a Charizard alt art at the very top. I know that it's not a hard card to come by. I know the PSA 10 population is really high, but when I think in the long run, that card is going to be in crazy high demand. Alt arts are so incredibly popular. And then you've got Evolutions, and Evolutions, even before Prismatic Evolutions was even announced, we just kept saying, like, there is this halo effect. So the big chase card from the Sword and Shield era is obviously the Umbreon from Evolving Skies, and there's this halo effect. We've seen a lot of other Umbreon and Evolution cards organically grow in value, and now that Prismatic Evolutions has come out, that has just put gasoline on the fire, and we're seeing Evolution cards all across the board just absolutely spike in price. But we didn't need that to happen to know that it was going to happen. Like, we knew that when we talk about sets to invest in, we look for great chase cards, which you have in the Charizard. You look for great secondary, like number 2, 3, 4, 5 most expensive cards. You look for big name Pokemon, and obviously Brilliant Stars checks all of those boxes. And then look at what has happened in the price growth. Like, overall, for the broad market, there's a lot of price appreciation right now. Sword and Shield is going crazy. Scarlet and Violet is going crazy. But even this card, if you look at it, it's up almost 220% over the last year, and it has gotten most of those gains over the last couple months. Even though the broader market is up, you're not seeing a lot of 220% gains over the last year. So this card has got some rare air. Again, super stunning card. Obviously, wild popular Pokemon on it, and I think Brilliant Stars is a set that a lot of people have been sleeping on. But I do think that that time is going to end soon. I think it's going to pop off, and I think we're going to see it up there, with all those other really big booster boxes here in a short amount of time. The next card that's on the list, and kind of keeping with the same thing of cards from the Sword and Shield era and reasons why I was a big believer in some of these sets, you think about Lost Origin, right? Lost Origin obviously has the Giratina as the big chase card, and we know, because we look at this information all the time, out of all of the chase cards in the Sword and Shield era, the Giratina has the lowest gem rate. Most of those cards, the Umbreon I was talking about, the Gengar, those VMAX chase cards that have the high raw card price, their gem rates are in the high 60, low 70% range. But then when you get to the Giratina in Lost Origin, guess what? The gem rate was 50%. A big gap between those other ones and this one. And we've seen the Giratina pop off in value, and that card is going to continue to be in high demand. Number one, it's a stunning card. Number two, it's from a stunning set. And number three, because it's got a really low gem rate. But Lost Origin as a whole wouldn't be Lost Origin if it wasn't for all the supporting cards, right? Obviously, you got the Aerodactyl sitting there in number two. And I've always been a big fan of the Pikachu cards that are supporter cards in this set as well. And this has been one of my favorite ones. I love this card. Again, you got the great lineup here. And look at what it has done over the last year. It was holding in the $15 range for a long time. Then it went through that little spike, which we saw, again, the broader Sword and Shield market spiked up. Then it kind of normalized for a little bit. And this was a $25 card, and now it's all the way up to almost $52. Now, do I think the market's going to soften a little bit at some point? Of course it will. Like, just like you see on this graph, you see a spike, then you see it come back down. And I do think that the prices on this are going to soften just a little bit in the future. How soft? I don't know. When is that going to happen? I don't know. My crystal ball doesn't work. But what I do believe is even if it does soften, it's going to hold on to a lot of the gains that we've seen it experience really over the last month. So it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. Again, one of the things that makes Lost Origin great is, yes, the Giratina, but all of the other awesome artwork and awesome Pokemon that support that set as a whole. So it's really cool to finally see some of these other cards that we've talked about for so long start to get their due and start to really pay big dividends for people who have these cards. So it's a really cool call out right here. Now, the next one, getting back, and this is one I never had an eye on, I never would have called out, but this is another one, again, following the trend, right? Evolutions are absolutely hot right now, and I do believe for 100% that Prismatic Evolutions is obviously a big driver of that. But this Umbreon right here, right from the Celebration set, which is not a hugely popular set and certainly doesn't have a lot of cards that command a high premium. It kind of came out, and there was a lot of it that was produced, and it just kind of fell by the wayside. I think it had the opportunity to do much better, but it just fell flat a little bit. Now, not in the initial phase, but I'm talking about, you know, years afterwards. We haven't seen that big price growth in the sealed product in some of these cards. But this card right here has popped off like crazy. And if you'll see, almost all of the gains that we're talking about on this card has happened over the last couple months. And again, it's up 148%. This was a sub $15 card for most of the year. Now, for me, even though it's got an Umbreon on it, I wouldn't have pulled the trigger on it simply because I look for a little bit more like the cards we've seen earlier. I think the artwork was much better, but it doesn't matter what I think. Obviously, this card is in hot demand right now with a ton of them being sold, with the price spiking at almost $40. It just seems like everything with an evolution on it is going nuts right now, even cards from the Celebration set. Next one, speaking of the king of the day, Mr. Eevee himself, the Eevee card from Twilight Masquerade. I missed on Twilight Masquerade, and it's okay. We should talk about when we're wrong. You know, we all knew the Greninja was going to be the one card, but I did feel like this Eevee card in time, before the set was released, I was like, man, I think the Eevee card is going to have the opportunity to really push the Greninja, maybe be a very close number two, or maybe in time, you know, take over that spot. But I was dead wrong. The Greninja is sitting up at $330, $340. Eevee's got all the momentum in the world, so I don't think it's going to quite close the gap as much as I had originally thought, but it is still interesting to see this card. I am a big fan of this card. I think the artwork is fire. I think Twilight Masquerade as a whole is a really solid set. So to see this get back up over that, or near the $100 mark, I think is really cool, and I think that's really awesome. And again, I'm not surprised at the $100 mark for this card. Now, it's just an illustration rare. It's not a special illustration rare, which I think might, I don't know, maybe curtail some of the opportunity for high side in the long run, but either way, I think this card is awesome. I think it's got a lot of room to run, especially with everything that's going on in the Scarlet and Violet phase. Don't be surprised if this one gets up in that $150 range here at some point, because it is absolutely on fire. Now, the next one we're talking about right here, and we're finishing off with another card from Brilliant Stars, and I don't know what I can say about this card and Brilliant Stars that I didn't already say in the beginning. You know, when you got a set like Brilliant Stars, again, you got the Charizard, you know, you got Sylveon, you got Umbreon in it, you just have all of these other, my God, there's an Arceus alt art in there. Like, just look at the top 10 cards from Brilliant Stars. Take a minute, take a look at them, and I promise you, you're going to be amazed at the quality of the cards and the artwork on it. And this is just it's a great example of where it took a while for the value to be realized. Again, as I said earlier, this is a huge spike in a short amount of time. I do expect at some point this to soften a bit. Now, it could go up another $20 before it hits that softening phase, and that might happen 3 or 4 months down the road. I have no clue, but we do watch a lot of data on this channel. We are always looking for trends, right? We look at the top 10 singles cards from the Sword and Shield era, from the Scarlet and Violet era, from the XY era, from the Sun and Moon era. We chart those every single month. So we've been able to, with a pretty good degree of accuracy here, get a good feeling for the market when it starts to go up, and certainly get a good feeling for when the market has started to go down. But most importantly, we've had a really good feeling for when the market starts to level off, right? We were very, very on point when we started to say, hey, listen, Sword and Shield starting to flatten off. In the past, we've seen where Sword and Shield cards or different eras like that start to flatten off. Sometimes they start to take off, and we kind of hit the nail on the head on this one. But again, the broader market's going up, so that's no PikiPikaPapa wisdom or genius. It just happened to be we saw the pattern maybe a couple days, couple weeks, maybe even a month before everybody else did. But really cool to see what's going on. Again, Brilliant Stars is fire. This card is fire. Not sure what else to say. I'm going to continue to do this video series every single week. I have a Scarlet and Violet 2-month view that's going to come out very soon. I have the Sword and Shield month-over-month view that's going to come out very soon. So if you love this stuff, if you want to see those graphs I was talking about, it is coming your way, and it is freaking awesome. I've already pulled the data. It's amazing to see what's going on. So if you made it to the end, you want to see those things, and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe button. And if you like what you see, give us a big old thumbs up. I appreciate you more than I can say. I hope you have an epic one, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.